You think everyone's watching you? They are. And if you do just one of these 9 things, you'll ruin your reputation in less than 10 seconds. But here's the secret. Most people don't even realize they're doing them. Once you know, you can avoid public humiliation, command respect, and make people notice you for the right reasons. If you're serious about owning every room you enter, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications because the next video will break down 9 things you absolutely must do to command respect everywhere you go. Losing control in public is one of the fastest ways to destroy your credibility and silently mark yourself as someone to avoid, and it happens in more ways than most people realize. When a person yells at a stranger, complains loudly about a situation, or lashes out over a minor inconvenience, it immediately signals emotional instability, regardless of whether they believe their reaction is justified. The moment someone sees another person exploding in public, the brain subconsciously files them as unpredictable, and unpredictability is almost universally interpreted as a threat or a liability. Even if you're venting about something unfair or standing up for yourself, doing it in a public space removes any nuance from the interaction. People don't hear context, they hear volume, tone, and aggression. Beyond that, losing control is contagious. Other people feel uncomfortable, awkward, or defensive, which shifts the energy in the space away from you and toward your outburst. Over time, repeated public meltdowns create a lasting impression that no apology or explanation can easily erase. It's not just about anger either. Crying uncontrollably, panicking, or showing extreme frustration can have a similar effect. People naturally gauge emotional composure as a measure of strength and reliability. Those who maintain calm under pressure, even subtly irritated, command attention and respect without saying a word, while those who visibly lose control make others question their judgment and competence. Additionally, in a world where social media captures moments instantly, a single public loss of control can extend far beyond the immediate environment. A short clip of someone yelling in a store, arguing on the street, or dramatically reacting in a public setting can circulate widely, permanently shaping their public persona and making it difficult to recover social credibility. The key to avoiding this pitfall is not suppression of emotion, but mastery of emotional regulation, understanding triggers, taking micro pauses before reacting, and using assertive but composed communication. By managing reactions, a person preserves their image, projects confidence, and sets a standard for how others are allowed to respond to them. Emotional control in public is not just about politeness. It's a strategic, almost tactical way to silently influence perception and command authority in any social environment. Oversharing personal details in public is one of those subtle but devastating mistakes that most people underestimate, and it's far more damaging than simply being too talkative. When someone begins revealing intimate aspects of their life, financial struggles, relationship drama, personal insecurities, or even private family issues, they immediately shift the dynamic from one of respect and curiosity to one of judgment and discomfort. Public spaces are not therapy rooms. The people around you are not invested in your narrative, and most do not have the emotional bandwidth or context to process the information appropriately. When you overshare, you inadvertently lower your status because vulnerability in front of strangers without careful calibration signals dependency or emotional instability rather than authenticity. Unlike controlled disclosures shared with trusted friends or partners, public oversharing leaves you exposed to criticism, gossip, and unwanted advice, which can stick in subtle ways that influence how people perceive you long after the interaction ends. Furthermore, oversharing often comes across as a plea for validation or attention, which diminishes your aura of self-sufficiency, a trait that naturally attracts respect and authority. Even if your goal is to connect or bond with others, too much personal detail too soon can overwhelm listeners, making them step back instead of lean in because the social balance has been disrupted. This isn't about becoming secretive or guarded, it's about strategically choosing what, when, and with whom to reveal personal information. Knowing how to manage this allows you to maintain control over your narrative and reputation while keeping others intrigued rather than burdened. In essence, every word you share in public is a signal about who you are and how you manage your life. Oversharing is a signal of impulsivity and lack of discernment, and once those impressions are formed, they are difficult to undo. Mastery of discretion, by contrast, creates mystery, commands attention, and naturally elevates your social presence, ensuring that people notice your confidence rather than your vulnerabilities. Public communication is a subtle game of influence, and oversharing is the single fastest way to lose the advantage before it even begins. Excessive phone use in public is one of the most underestimated ways people sabotage their social presence, yet it communicates far more than most realize. When someone constantly scrolls, texts, or stares at their screen while around others, it sends an unspoken message. I'm more interested in my digital world than in the people or environment around me. This behavior immediately lowers perceived status because it portrays disengagement, distraction, and a lack of awareness, qualities that subtly signal weakness or insecurity. Even if the phone activity is important or urgent, observers don't see your intentions. They only see that you are ignoring them or the shared space, which can come across as rude or dismissive. Moreover, habitual phone use in public diminishes presence, the kind of magnetic energy that naturally draws attention and respect. People who are fully present, scanning their environment, reading social cues, and responding deliberately, project authority and confidence, while those glued to screens appear small, anxious, or dependent on external stimulation for validation. Over time, this creates a subtle pattern in which others stop expecting engagement, interaction, or leadership from you because your attention is constantly elsewhere. Beyond individual perception, excessive phone use disrupts social dynamics. In conversations, in lines, in shared spaces, or even in meetings, the person on the phone becomes invisible to others, and they are literally missing opportunities to connect, influence, or leave a positive impression. There's also the risk of signaling desperation or neediness, repeatedly checking notifications, looking for likes, or responding immediately reinforces the idea that your emotional state depends on digital feedback rather than self-regulation. The key to avoiding this pitfall is intentional presence, keeping the phone down, maintaining situational awareness, and choosing deliberate, purposeful moments to engage with technology rather than letting it dominate your attention. Mastering this creates a natural aura of control, focus, and charisma. People notice presence far more than words, and staying fully engaged in your surroundings is one of the simplest yet most overlooked ways to silently command respect and authority wherever you go. Poor manners in public are a silent but powerful way to erode respect and influence, and most people underestimate just how quickly small actions can shape perceptions. When someone cuts in line, interrupts conversations, speaks rudely to service staff, or ignores basic etiquette, it doesn't just come across as impolite. It signals an underlying sense of entitlement or disregard for others. Humans are wired to read social behavior instantly, and subtle breaches of manners trigger unconscious judgments about a person's character, competence, and reliability. Even a single minor lapse, like failing to say thank you or using a condescending tone, can leave a lasting impression that outweighs any positive qualities someone might otherwise project. Beyond individual interactions, poor manners disrupt social harmony and draw negative attention, subtly making others uncomfortable or defensive. People may hesitate to engage, collaborate, or follow someone who exhibits repeated lapses in etiquette because they unconsciously associate such behavior with unpredictability, selfishness, or emotional immaturity. This is especially true in environments where impression matters, professional settings, networking events, or even casual social spaces, because respect and influence are rarely earned through words alone. They are reinforced by consistent, courteous action. Moreover, poor manners can amplify the impact of other public mistakes. A person who loses control, overshares, or behaves disruptively will have those actions remembered far more negatively if combined with rude or inconsiderate behavior. Conversely, consistently practicing good manners, holding doors, listening attentively, speaking with respect, acts like a social multiplier, enhancing perceived status and authority, even in casual situations. Mastering public etiquette is not about rigid formality or trying to please everyone. It's about controlling impressions, signaling self-discipline, and demonstrating awareness of the social ecosystem around you. Manners are a strategic tool, subtle, almost invisible, but incredibly powerful in shaping how people respond, who respects you, and how authority is granted without saying a single word. In essence, poor manners silently undermine influence and credibility, while thoughtful behavior commands attention, trust, and respect in every public setting. Dressing completely out of place in public, whether overdressed, underdressed, or simply mismatched, may seem harmless, but it's a powerful signal that can undermine how people perceive you before you even speak. Clothing communicates status, confidence, and situational awareness instantly. And when someone chooses an outfit that clashes with the environment, it sends subtle, often unconscious messages of insecurity, ignorance, or carelessness. Overdressing in a casual setting can make others feel uncomfortable or create distance because it signals an attempt to assert status in a way that feels forced rather than natural. Underdressing, on the other hand, can convey laziness, lack of attention to detail, or even a disregard for social norms, causing people to undervalue your presence or dismiss your authority. The issue isn't about fashion trends or vanity. It's about alignment with context and projecting deliberate awareness. Every public appearance is a silent communication, and clothing is one of the fastest, most visible ways others interpret your confidence, taste, and social intelligence. In situations like meetings, networking events, social gatherings, or even casual outings, being out of sync with the expected standards signals a lack of control over your own image and environment. This misalignment can override other traits you possess. Charisma, knowledge, and competence become overshadowed by the subconscious judgment triggered by visual cues. Mastery of public attire is subtle but strategic. Choosing clothes that fit the setting, reflect personal style without exaggeration, and convey composure enhances social influence and creates immediate positive impressions. It demonstrates that you understand social context, value perception, and exercise control over how you are interpreted, all without saying a word. The impact is cumulative. Consistently showing up appropriately dressed reinforces credibility, respect, and subtle authority, whereas repeated misalignment chips away at social trust and diminishes presence. Dressing well isn't about vanity. It's about using visual signals as a tactical tool to communicate stability, awareness, and confidence in every environment. It's one of the easiest yet most overlooked ways to command respect and leave a lasting impression without uttering a single word. Being visibly intoxicated or over-emotional in public is one of the fastest ways to undermine every ounce of respect you might have earned. Yet so many people underestimate how damaging it can be. When someone drinks too much, stumbles, slurs, or behaves erratically, it sends an immediate signal of lost control, weakness, and poor judgment. People instinctively associate self-mastery with reliability, competence, and authority. And when they witness someone surrendering to alcohol or extreme emotion, those associations vanish instantly. This doesn't only apply to drunkenness. Losing composure through crying, panicking, or dramatic outbursts has an equally destructive effect. While emotions themselves are natural, the public display of uncontrolled intensity creates discomfort and unease for those around, making others distance themselves, judge silently, or avoid engaging altogether. Even in seemingly casual or safe environments, people register these behaviors as red flags, tagging the individual as unpredictable or unreliable. Over time, repeated episodes, whether overindulgence, explosive anger, or public emotional collapse, form a lasting impression that overshadows competence, charm, or intelligence, because humans remember extremes more vividly than moderation. Social media magnifies this risk. A single poorly timed clip or viral moment can cement a negative reputation far beyond the immediate audience, and undoing such perceptions can take years. Avoiding visible intoxication or overreactions doesn't mean suppressing emotion entirely. It's about controlling the timing, intensity, and context of your expressions. Strategic emotional regulation, pausing before reacting, measuring responses, and maintaining composure under provocation, signals mastery and subtly elevates status. When someone can stay calm in the face of chaos, handle frustration gracefully, or manage disappointment without spectacle, they exude confidence and authority effortlessly. Ultimately, public behavior under pressure communicates far more than words ever could. Managing intoxication and emotional expression is not a moral issue. It's a tactical choice that determines whether others perceive you as strong, reliable, and worthy of trust, or as someone whose impulses define them. Self-control in public is therefore a silent superpower, commanding attention, respect, and influence without a single boastful word. Intrusive behavior in public is one of those subtle mistakes that can instantly erode respect and make people uncomfortable without you even realizing it. Yet it's far more common than most admit. When someone stares excessively, eavesdrops on private conversations, or encroaches on another person's personal space, it triggers a primal sense of threat and discomfort in those around them. Humans are hardwired to protect boundaries, and violations, no matter how minor they may seem, create instant negative judgments about the person committing them. Staring too long at someone in public signals aggression or social awkwardness, making others feel scrutinized rather than engaged, and it communicates a lack of social awareness or control over impulses. Eavesdropping, listening in on conversations not meant for you, may seem harmless or even clever, but it reveals a lack of discretion and an inability to respect social norms, which subconsciously lowers perceived status. Similarly, physical intrusion, standing too close in lines, leaning over someone's space, or touching without permission, creates immediate unease and can even provoke defensive responses. All of these behaviors signal a disregard for others' boundaries, and humans interpret this as either desperation, neediness, or a potential threat, depending on context. Over time, repeated intrusive actions compound, forming a pattern that people remember, often overshadowing other positive traits like intelligence, charm, or competence. The antidote is simple but requires self-awareness. Observe social cues, respect space, and listen actively without overstepping. Mastering this subtle skill allows someone to project confidence, calm authority, and composure because they demonstrate control over themselves and sensitivity to others simultaneously. Intrusive behavior is not about intentional harm. It's often unconscious, but its impact on social perception is immediate and long-lasting. By consciously maintaining personal boundaries, reading others' comfort levels, and practicing discretion, a person can command attention without intimidation, foster genuine connection without discomfort, and establish a reputation for presence, awareness, and subtle influence. Public spaces are social ecosystems, and those who respect boundaries silently signal power and control, whereas those who intrude reveal insecurity and impulsivity. Flashy displays of wealth or arrogance in public are one of the fastest ways to alienate people and quietly undermine your social influence, yet many fail to realize just how damaging they can be. When someone overtly flaunts expensive items, brags about achievements, or projects an air of superiority, it immediately signals insecurity masked as confidence. Humans instinctively react to social hierarchies, but overt attempts to assert dominance or impress others tend to backfire, creating subtle resentment, discomfort, or even ridicule. Unlike quiet confidence, which draws attention naturally and inspires respect, arrogance pushes people away because it shifts focus from who you are to what you want others to think of you. Flashy displays also distort perception of your character. People start measuring you by possessions, status symbols, or boastful words instead of observing competence, reliability, or integrity. Even if the intention is to inspire admiration, excessive self-promotion signals a dependence on external validation rather than self-assuredness. This effect is amplified in public spaces, where small actions are magnified, social judgment is instant, and first impressions harden quickly. Subtlety is the key. Demonstrating success, skill, or confidence through controlled behavior, deliberate speech, and measured actions communicates authority far more effectively than loud declarations or visual showmanship. Strategic restraint allows people to observe your value without feeling overshadowed or threatened, creating curiosity and respect instead of envy or discomfort. Additionally, arrogance or ostentation often interacts negatively with other public missteps. Poor manners, oversharing, or emotional outbursts are amplified in perception when combined with displays of superiority, making even minor flaws seem more glaring. Mastery lies in conveying competence and achievement quietly, letting results and composure speak louder than words or possessions. Public behavior is a language of influence, and subtlety communicates control, power, and social intelligence, whereas arrogance and flashiness communicate insecurity and a need for approval. In essence, restraint in showcasing wealth or status is not about humility alone. It's a tactical approach to commanding attention, inspiring respect, and shaping perception in a way that overt arrogance never can.